There we go. Welcome to the Game Changer Masterclass. Now I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, there we go. All right, so I have quite an audacious title for this masterclass, but I really feel that all of us can make 2024 the year it all turns around, because there is so much potential that we can draw on to do this. Now, this week has been a blast already. In the challenge over on Facebook, in the Facebook group, that quite a few of you are in, we've already talked about money, networking, building a personal brand, and analyzing our mindset as a foundation that underpins everything. Has been really, really fundamental in what's come out of this. And we've seen how it's really important to separate out the beliefs, the inherent beliefs that we have, especially about things like money, but also about what our brand is, and to really sift that out from what is actually fact and what we have evidence for. And often when we look at what there's evidence for, that doesn't always marry up with these things that we have told, that we've been told about ourselves, or that we tell ourselves about the kind of people that we are, the kind of freelancers that we are. And confidence doesn't really need to come, doesn't need to be like a fake it till you make it. I don't really believe in that. I don't believe that if you're faking it, I don't believe you make anything. I don't believe that that can happen, because as human beings, we're so in touch with when something feels inauthentic to us, when it feels like someone's putting on a facade in order to try and sell us something or convince us of something or make a business deal. There are times when our gut is really telling us not to do something, which we might then override. But I really believe that confidence has to come from a genuine place. So today, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to take you through some training first. We're going to be talking about the ways you can make 2024 the year everything turns around. And we're going to start with figuring out where you want to go in your career, thinking about your particular, what success means to you, really, your measure of success. What would gold look like if you could go for gold? And understanding that you're an equal player in business. So not just thinking of yourself as a business, but understanding that you are an equal player in your business negotiations with your clients. Just because you're one person, or maybe you work with one other person, so you're a company of two, just because you're a small business, it doesn't mean you are not a powerful, viable business. And in most business negotiations, it's very rarely between that they're always between two organizations or two businesses of the same size. You might have a multinational working with much smaller vendors, working with distributors or designers or writers or artists, or clothes designers, for example. So just because you don't have the same size in your company, it doesn't mean that you don't have the power to negotiate in a way that is right for you, and to run your business in a way that's right for you. And then I'm going to talk you through this one thing that can change the way you negotiate. It's a little bit of a clickbaity, BuzzFeed kind of title, but I really believe this is very fundamental. More of that soon. Then I'm going to share with you a sneak peek into the Game Changer course, which is a 6-week course that I'm launching today. So it will go live at about midday today. And then the online cart will be open for 1 week. So you've got 1 week to grab your spot on this course. And I know it's going to be a good one. It is going to live up to the name. And then I'm going to do a Q&A at the end. But in case you're worried that this is just going to be a big sell from the beginning, don't worry. There is going to be just as much training as I've already shared in the challenge so far. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Some of you were able to come to it live. Some of you watched it on replay. Some of you won't have had time to get to it yet. Don't worry, it's available until the 2nd of April. So if you want to go back and watch those trainings that you might have missed, please do. You can get it in the Facebook group, you can get it on YouTube, or you can get it on my LinkedIn channel. And if you're in the Game Changer Challenge anyway, you will have received emails with replays. Okay, so with that, let's continue. Okay, so a bit about me. Now, some of you will know me already from the challenge that we've just done, where we were talking in the Facebook group. Some of you might know me in real life or on social media. And if you don't know me, my name is Priya. I've been a freelance science writer for about 25 years. And I've worked for organizations as staff within that time. But mostly I've been freelance. So I've had these sort of snippets of kind of staff jobs, and then I've been freelance in and around that time. I've written for organizations like New Scientist, The Guardian, the World Health Organization, and I've also written for magazines like Grazia and Red Magazine. So I have quite a spread of the types of places that I've written for. I live in Barcelona now, which is amazing for my quality of life, as you can imagine. We're having really nice sunny weather at the moment, for example. The downside to that, and there is a downside to living in Barcelona, if you can believe it, is that I'm, as a science writer, writing in English, it's not where my main networks are. So my main networks are in the UK, the US, and Geneva. And so what that's meant is actually taught me how much and how important it is for me to nurture and build those networks in a way that maybe I didn't do as much when I was living in somewhere like London or New York, because my network was right there. I could meet people in person whenever I wanted. Now it's a bit harder, so I'm much more intentional about how I do that. I am straight talking, very straight talking. I'm very transparent and pretty open about what I share. I don't like to deceive people or kind of pretend something is other than it is. So all of the guidance and the trainings that I've shared here, for example, are often from my own experience, because I feel like that's the best thing to do. But also, if you do ask me questions, and some of you have reached out to me to ask questions, I do generally tell it like it is, because I feel like that's the best way, right? Life is too short to not be telling the truth or not to be honest with people. And I really hate small talk, to the point where when I'm in a networking event, I can kind of seize up a little bit, because it makes me go nuts. Okay. So for years, my freelance life looked like this. I did the same type of work that I was already doing as a staff writer. So the place that I had been working at, the media site, when I went freelance, I left on good terms. And so they said, would you like to fill in for the job you've just left, but do it as a freelancer? And I was like, well, I guess so, why not? And so then I did that for a bit. And then they filled that position. And then they had other freelance work they wanted me to do. So I did that. And I did the same for a couple of other organizations I had just worked for as well. And initially, that was great. I thought, well, great, I've gone freelance. I haven't had to look for work. I've got lots of work coming my way. This is, kind of a win-win, right? And it was work I already knew how to do. I was very comfortable with the people I was working with. But after a while, it really started to feel very unfulfilling and unrewarding, because I was still doing the same work as a freelancer that I did as a staff writer, working with the same colleagues, often working for the same management or within the same management structure, except now I wasn't being given paid holiday, I wasn't being given sick leave, and I had no staff pension. So overall, I was being paid less, but still doing the same types of work. And because freelancers don't tend to be treated in the same way as staff, I think people sort of think of us as like robots or automatons, where we don't have any needs of our own. I was often asked to work over holidays, for example. Summer and Christmas was my prime time for work because people would want to hand over work to me while they were on holiday. And that's how it goes when you're a freelancer, but it didn't work for me because I was too scared to negotiate rates or a contract. It didn't occur to me that I could do that. And I was just so grateful to get work because I felt like I'd taken a gamble on myself by going freelance. So I thought, well, I better make sure that this works. And I think probably as freelancers, many of us have had this feeling where we feel like we're doing something so risky and so high risk that we want to almost stay in the safest lane possible, and we want to just really protect ourselves. And that is important, and it's an important and useful human characteristic to stay in the slow lane, as it were, to stay in the easy lane and never really put ourselves out there. But by doing that, I was leading a really unfulfilling freelance life. I wasn't being paid what I should have been paid. I wasn't doing any more exciting work that I had the opportunity to do as a freelancer. When you're staff, you do the work that the organization wants you to do. If you've been there for a while, maybe you can have influence over what that might be, but it has to serve the organization's purpose. But when you're freelance, you can do whatever you want. You can take on whichever clients you want. You can have your own standards for what types of clients you'll work with and who you won't. You have so much freedom in the type of work you do, and you don't just need to do one type. Let's say, I'm a writer. Let's say I taught myself how to design, to do graphic design. I could work as both a writer and a designer. There's no one stopping me from doing that. So there's so much freedom, but I had no way of accessing that freedom because I was stuck in this pattern of working that meant I burnt out repeatedly. And so I really started to wonder whether this was sustainable and whether I could keep freelancing going. And then I reached the point that I dramatically call the point of no return. This was when I was working for a small environment NGO who did amazing work, and I still love the work that they do. But they're a small charity, and they wanted me to write a report for them. And they said it had to be done by Christmas. It was an immovable deadline. But as it led up to Christmas, I would get comments back from them late beyond, the timeline was sort of slipping and slipping. But they maintained that my deadline had to stay Christmas Eve. The end of play on Christmas Eve was when it was due in. They absolutely had to have it by then. I don't know why. They said that something needed to be actioned in between. Anyway, knowing what I do now, I doubt very much. Everything shuts down between Christmas and New Year. I don't actually believe it was necessary, but I never went back to check because I exhausted myself so much by working until 4 a.m. on Christmas morning. And that was as miserable as it sounds. I was sitting in, the study in my parents' room downstairs, hearing all these sounds of my family in the living room, drinking and eating and just generally having fun and watching Christmas movies. And I was thinking, I've got something wrong here. There's something I'm not doing right if I'm working until 4 a.m. on Christmas Day. And it wasn't working at 4 a.m. for a piece of work that was going to pay me so much I could not work for several months or anything like that. It was my standard rate, which was a huge mistake now that I think back on it. But I was quite early to freelancing, quite new. So that's what I did. And I knew something needed to change, but I didn't quite know what. So I carried on in this way. Then I had a baby, and I didn't have all the hours to spend working. I couldn't work on weekends, all weekends, as much as I used to. I couldn't work all evenings like I used to. I was waking up for a baby who just never slept. And so a lot of the time that I had was just taken away. And then a third thing happened, which was I was by this point in my late 30s. And I was looking around at people, other freelancers who we'd started out more or less at the same point, finished university and everything. And then 7, 8, 9 years later, they were all, some of them were doing such incredible jobs. I was thinking, what am I? And these were freelancers, some of them. And I thought, well, what is it that I'm doing that I'm just chugging away, I'm just plodding away the same old thing, and I'm not changing? And then when I was this was just about to enter my 40s, I knew it was unsustainable. And I thought it all kind of came to a head. And I thought, if I don't change something now, I'm going to have to go back to a staff job. There's no way I can continue to freelance. So this is what I did when I wanted to change the game. What I did is something that isn't advised very often, which is comparison. So I looked around at the people who were doing what I wanted to be doing. So I don't mean success in all its forms, because some forms of success are not very interesting to me. This was people who were doing the types of work that I really wanted to be doing. And I wanted to see how they did it, and this is why comparison can, in this little sliver of space, can be useful. Because if you think of in evolutionary terms, we compare ourselves with more successful people for survival. If you're a cave person, bear with me, you see your neighboring cave person bringing back food and water and staying warm and dry. And you better believe that you're going to be looking over there trying to figure out how they did it, because you want that for yourself, right? So sometimes it can be incredibly helpful to look at what people are doing when they're doing the type of work you want to do, to understand how you do it for yourself. Also, what I needed to do was massively upskill. I needed to teach myself, um, uh, I needed to teach myself these skills that lawyers and social media gurus and other freelancers, what they were doing. I needed to learn their secrets. And so this can be a really useful exercise. I wouldn't just do comparison across the board, but it can be incredibly useful in understanding where you want to go. And what I see often that people do, freelancers, is they treat their freelance role as a staff role. So they somehow think that magically, by being freelance, it's going to give them flexibility and freedom. But if you're behaving like an employee, and you are being treated like an employee, nothing changes. And so what this then means is I see lots of people feeling quite stuck and unable to move forward, not confident in changing things at all. They want to change things, they're feeling stuck in a rut, but they don't really know what they can do. Okay. So what do you do then if you're stuck and you want to change things, you desperately know that you can change things, but you just don't know how to go about it? This is an exercise I like to do, which is sort of an equivalent to maybe a vision board, but it's not quite as hippy dippy as that. What you're going to be doing here is looking at where you want to go, not for the sake of it, not because you think you should be doing a particular job, not because you think, well, this is what I should be doing at this age or anything like that. This is about you sit down with a piece of paper, sit down somewhere quiet, and writing out and mapping out what you want your dream freelance career to look like. So that's likely to be very different for all of us. It could look like wanting to sort of go down in terms of responsibilities or perceived responsibility. Maybe you are an editor, but you don't want to be, you'd rather be a writer, you want more creative freedom. Maybe you're managing a project or you're you have so much responsibility and you're managing people, and actually you really don't want to be doing that at all. Sit down and think about what you would do if you could do anything. And I want you also to try and not get into your head too much about this. Don't worry about what is realistic or whether, well, I'd like to do this kind of work, but there's probably not much money in it. Don't worry about that too much right now. Just map out what you would do in your dream scenario. And that allows yourself, and also that means allowing yourself the courage to say, I want to run a studio. I want to run a design studio. I want to run an agency, to open an agency. Be as ambitious as you want to be, but also be as true to yourself as you can be. Because ultimately, the only way this works, we can talk about leveling up our skills, and we can talk about figuring out how to earn more money, how to bring in more work, how to do all of these things. But they're all serving one goal, which is getting your freelance career to where you want it to be. So before we start looking at the actual skills and how we transform those skills and build new skills, we need to know, where do we want to go and where do we want to go, as opposed to where does someone, your family, your friends, your husband, your wife, your partner, where do people around you think you should go? And they can sometimes really be in opposition. So sit down and try and think about where you would go if you could. And intentionality is key here. So seeing yourself as a business owner, but a business owner that you feel confident owning, it can be business that suits you. So we're not talking about necessarily a macho sense of doing business, that saying of like, oh, well, don't take it too personally, it's just business. The underlying implication being, in business, you're ruthless, and you can do anything. Business can mean understanding people. It can mean being empathetic. It can mean being kind and generous. It can mean what you want it to be. So when you're thinking, even as I encourage you to step into yourself as a business owner and what that means, it also means doing it in a way that feels right to you. And as you're doing it, does the mindset you have serve you? And so this was, yes, setting your own goals, looking at what you love to do. What do you love to do that you don't do already? Or what do you love to do that you do a little bit of and you don't do enough of? And we're replacing should do with want to do, because this is just a exercise in dreaming and thinking. We don't have to be practical in this setting. And why I run this training really is this idea of intentionality and taking charge, because this isn't, despite the fact that I talk about things like earning money and being confident and showing up and running things like a business, it isn't about being uber productive and grinding and hustling. It is so that you feel in charge of your own career, of your own, that you have autonomy over how you run your career. Now, the one thing that can transform the way you negotiate, and I love talking about negotiation because there's so much that underpins this. There's so much that is, it's so set in your mindset. So what your mindset is, how you think about yourself as a business, directly translates with how you negotiate. Because negotiation is an inherent power dynamic. And when you crack this idea, you crack the code of negotiating in a way that works for you. Because the power dynamic, by that I mean, there will be lots of different power dynamics. For example, my kid is trying to negotiate with me to go to bed half an hour later. We might negotiate, but it's not really a very equal power dynamic because I'm still the parent. So I still call the shots while she's quite young. Well, I try to anyway. Those of you with the young kids will know what I mean. But if you go into a negotiation thinking, oh, I'm just a little freelancer and I don't have the power to do anything, that will translate into the outcomes that you have. if you think of like boxers going to the ring, they have to hype themselves up and be as amped as possible, because if they go into the ring thinking the other boxer's stronger than me, more powerful, they're probably going to win, they've lost the fight already. So how you see yourself in negotiations and how you center yourself is super important. So drum roll for the one thing that can negotiate how you do business. And it is time. Now, in high-level negotiations, time is literally used as a tactic to make you take either or decisions. So you might be given a very clear deadline by a client and say, well, you need to say yes to this now, or I'm not going to offer this anymore, or you need to say yes to this, or to agree to something now because time's running out. Very rarely is time running out. That artificial timeline is set by someone to force a decision, to push you to do something. And so knowing that, you can then use time to your advantage, because what often happens, what I always do, is I rush out a response to text messages or Instagram DMs or all of these things, because if I don't, I just keep thinking about this, keeps running into interference in my mind. And I do the same sometimes with until very recently, with professional communications. Someone would ask me for a quote to quote my fee, and within minutes I would send it to them thinking, well, if I'm really responsive, then that speaks really well of me. But you can be responsive and respond in a couple of hours. You don't need to respond within milliseconds like I sometimes do. And when we respond, we often haven't given ourselves, if we respond quickly, we haven't given ourselves time to think about, what does this mean? Is that the right fit for me, the project? Can I do it in the time they're asking, by the deadline that they're asking? How much do I really want to charge for this? And if you've already responded before you thought about it, it's too late. You can't really backtrack from there. Or you can, but you risk losing goodwill. And those quick responses come from a place of fear, of a scarcity, of thinking this is going to disappear if I don't grab it now. But what I want you to do, and I really encourage you to try this, is to take your time. So what I do, if I'm asked for something, for a quote, let's say, I write down my gut response, what my intuition, my gut is telling me, because that's quite reliable. But I don't send it. I write it down, I go for a walk, I go have a coffee, I go do literally anything else. And then I come back, and depending on how high the stakes are, the more time I take. I might only take a couple of hours. I might take half a day, depending. I mean, I do want to still respond in a timely way. But you can also acknowledge the email and say, I've just got this. This looks great. I'm going to take a little bit of time to think about this properly and get back to you soon. That's a great way if you want to respond, but you don't want to give an answer immediately. So just take your time, is what I would say. Now, this is normally where the training would end, because we've had 4 sessions this week, but we really only skimmed the surface. There's so much more to go. So this is why I'm going to talk to you now about the Game Changer course. It's a 6-week course for which the online cart is open now. So you've got 7 days from now if you want to join the course. There's tons of different payment plans that I'll talk to you about in a minute. And then the course starts in the middle of April. So this is for you if you've had those aha moments during this week, or even during the session, and you've seen how your mindset can change and the way you think about your career as a business can change with just little slivers of training. So this is much shorter than I would normally do. It's about a third of the amount of each session. And what we could do in the course is really deep dive into transforming your business. So all of these little nuggets that I've been kind of giving you, we deep dive into lots of different aspects. So this is a 6-week program. It will give you practical step-by-step training to level up your freelance business. And it's a very bold title, but I really feel like it will change the game in your freelance life. So what's in it? Now, there are 6 modules taught live by me on Zoom weekly. Each module will be about an hour of training, and then we do a Q&A at the end. In addition to those Q&As, you get 3 extra Q&A sessions, a mix of live and pre-recorded, because I really want this to be an opportunity to serve as group coaching. You know, I really want you to be able to ask whatever you want. If you don't like asking things live, you can message or email me. There's tons of ways that we can do this. I also give downloadable PDFs. I don't give too many though, because what I don't want is to overwhelm you with information and to just kind of heap loads of information on you that you then need ages to sift through what's appropriate. I give you exactly what you need. It's very practical, it's very hands-on, and in certain instances where I'm going to explain, where I might just show you, give you done for you pieces of work. Along with this, everyone who joins gets 2 bonuses. I'm really excited about this. So there's one bonus is called Visibility Plus, excuse me. It's a social media audit. So I go through any social media channel of your choice. I really do a deep dive on and give you advice on how to improve your visibility. We talk through goals that you have. And this is a way for you to increase that online visibility without feeling weird or fake. This isn't about trying to become a social media guru. This is doing what is you're already doing, taking the work you're already doing, showing it to the world. Another bonus is a free ticket to join this training again the next time I run it. Now, that might seem weird because you get lifetime access to the content. So you might think, if I get lifetime access and I'm doing the course already, why would I need to do it again? Well, you might really benefit from being accountable a second time, because the community that is built around the course, we're going to have a private Facebook group, and that community of other people going through the same things, it's so useful. When I've done these things, I've loved having that community around me. And also sometimes we need more than once. We need more than one go through the same piece of training. And if you know there's a live call coming up and you can ask me questions again, because you've now had time to engage with the content, it can be incredible. So you're getting 2 courses effectively for the price of 1. And each time I run it, I will update it with the newest information. So yeah, you get 2 goes on the merry-go-round every time when you buy this course. Now, another bonus for people who join within 48 hours, so 48 hours of today, you get a 1-hour private coaching session with me, which normally I charge one-to-one clients about £350 for that hour. So, but you get that completely free, included in this course, if you join in the next 48 hours. So these are the modules. The first 3 modules are what I like to think of as kind of foundational modules. So this is how you think of yourself as a business owner. It's your brand and how you're taking that internal understanding of who you are and how you see yourself, and you're then communicating with the world. This is your brand. This is what you're about. This is where you'll develop confidence and tapping into but doing it in a way that is authentic, taps into your own values and your own skills. We're also going to look at money mindset and finances. So going to do a really deep dive. We touched on this a little bit in the challenge, but this is a much deeper dive about our relationship with money, where these beliefs came from, how to overcome these limiting beliefs that we might have. And we look at really concrete ways to tap into our own worth so we can charge what we really deserve, and to improve our negotiating skills. Now, I'm sorry, I did this slide a little bit late last night. So what looks like an insane numbering system is actually 4, 5, and 6. So we've got developing your pricing strategy is number 4. And this is where I'm going to take you through my proven system for figuring out what your real rate is. And I will explain all of that in the course. Your real rate is not the rate that you tell your clients, but more on that in the course. We're going to talk about how you figure out what to pitch, depending on the client, depending on the job, and what to do when you don't get paid. Then we look at productivity and time. Now, this isn't about trying to bend yourself to a ridiculous schedule or anything like that. This is about figuring out how you work best and then devising a system that works for you. All of this has to work for you. It's not about you contorting yourself to something in order to achieve some goal. I think the only way that this works if we make it work for us. And then the final module is becoming multi-hyphenate. So what this means is how you can diversify your income, how you can diversify the clients that you bring in. And the reason I want to encourage us to do that is to really future-proof your career, because we're not in control of clients that may go bust, or print magazines that may fold or cut their budgets. We're not in control of what's happening with our clients. So in order to protect ourselves, we need to have as many different income streams as possible from as many different types of clients and types of work as possible. And I will take you through exactly how I did this. I went from writing feature articles for print magazines, that was all I did. And now I go into writing for health apps. I write scripts for videos. I do research for podcasts. I have a whole range of things that I do. I do consulting as well as writing. I do stuff like this, freelance training. So there's a million different things that we can talk about there. Why should you do this course? It's a good question. Now, I really feel that if you're here already, you already know there is something kind of nagging away at you, thinking things could be so much better with more training, with more skills, with more guidance. Things could be so much better. And you might already have seen some of these light bulb moments, some of these aha flashes from this week already. And you might want to take that further and think, well, if I could change the way I think and understand myself so much better in a week, what could I do over 6 weeks? And maybe you're ready to establish yourself as a business owner, not just a freelancer, but you don't quite know how to do that. This course can take you through step by step how to go about doing that. And this is such a perfect time to be a freelancer. We're also used to working remotely and to work from home, but it doesn't need to be a struggle. And I think so many of us feel that freelance life is always going to be a bit of a struggle, and it really doesn't need to be. It really just is a case of figuring out how we build our business in a way that really supports us and that we're in charge of. And what I did when I was building this course, I mean, often people, I think, build or create the things that they really wanted. And I would have loved a course like this. This is the course I needed 10 or 15 years ago when I was struggling to negotiate rates and I didn't know how to get different types of work, how to crack different clients, how to find high-paying clients. This is the course that I would have loved. And I went and learned all this information through really circuitous routes. I spoke to lawyers about negotiation. I spoke to social media gurus about online visibility. And I've put all of this together, all of these pieces of the puzzle together into one course. So why now? One of the things that some people have messaged me to say that they would love to do a course, but they're not sure that they have the time. To which I would say, I don't think there's ever the right time. I don't know about you, but I never have magic, completely free chunks of my week or my month where I just think now is the time for me to do something. There's always something going on, whether it's family or home or health, or, there's always something going on. But this is a moment for you to think, you have gone freelance. You went freelance for a reason. you wanted more. You wanted more freedom, more flexibility, more autonomy. So I would really encourage you to step into that feeling of wanting more and take charge. So this is the course in a nutshell, really. We've got 6 online modules, 3 pre-recorded Q&A sessions, the private session with me, the bonus, 2 bonuses of visibility and a free ticket. I also offer you a 7-day refund policy because I really want you to do this if it's going to serve you, if it's going to be what you need and what you want. And I really believe it will be. I don't think there's anyone on this, anyone watching this for whom it wouldn't do huge amounts for your career, but I want you to feel that too. And so if you buy it because of FOMO, because you think, oh, I really don't want to miss out on this, and I can't do this course again for at least another year, I don't want you to panic and think, well, I've bought it now, what do I do? Just contact me, 7 days, you can have your money back. These are the payment plans over here. On the course website that I'm going to share in a minute, all of this detail is there. And this is my final bonus, which I'm really proud of, and I'm really so pleased to be able to offer. This is a half-day luxury retreat with me in London. Full disclosure, this picture was taken in Florence. We're not going to Florence, unfortunately. I wish we could. We're going to be in London. We're going to have lunch. We're going to have conversation, and we're going to take part in a workshop that is going to help you define where you want to go in 2024. We're going to bring everything together from the course, and we're going to really think about how to make 2024 even better. These are some lovely things that people have said about me that I wanted to include because it was evidence to me that the content I'm sharing is practical, that is already starting to help people. And this is just from the free content that I've been sharing. So I know that the course is just going to bring huge value. And so that's why I wanted to share these lovely things that people were saying. Now, do you have any questions? If you have any questions, you can email me at priya@priyajoy.com. You can WhatsApp me on this number here, 677-03 2091. And I am also going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. I am also going to I'm going to put in the chat, let me see if I can do that now. Okay, hopefully you can see this as well. This is the link to the course. So this is a website, so we should have put the www first. That's the link right there. So this is the link to the course. There's tons of information there. I will also include the link to the course information page when I send you this replay as well. But yeah, I can't wait. Some of you have already said that you want to join, and I'm so excited. So I cannot wait to have you on there. Okay, bye for now. Don't forget to WhatsApp me if you need to for any question about the course. More details about what it includes, how the course is going to be structured. If you've got any more questions, please just WhatsApp me.